Good morning, Comms Club. It's day 10. Day 10 of 12. So very soon you'll be able to wake up in the morning and not find me on your video feed delivering a top tip. I don't know whether you're going to be happy about that or sad, but I'm going to see my commitment through 12 days of Commsmas. Today is day 10. Now, having a little look at some of the top tips that I have shared with you, all of these are the simplest thing in the world, each in their own right, because what I wanted to do was make sure that the conversations that you have over the festive period, when we are often with people that we don't normally see, or we're with people we normally see for protracted amount of times, sometimes we find it hard to maintain our communication stamina. So each of the 12 tips I'm sharing with you now are designed to just remind you of the importance of something, or to challenge you to adopt a new habit, or to throw a little bit of a perspective in there that maybe you hadn't considered. So let's have a look at what we have already covered so far. Got a list because I'm prepared. So we have looked at thinking before you speak, really articulating what does success look like and how important is it to be able to communicate clearly, because after all, clear is kind, unclear is unkind with our communication. We've also done the one thing that if you did this, then your communication would undoubtedly improve, which is slowing down the pace of your speech. So you've got time to think, the person's got time to hear and understand you, everyone's on a winner. We talked about the innate desire for each of us to be heard and understood. Not always agreed with. Really important to remember that when we're in confrontational situations. The other person doesn't always want you to come around to their way of thinking. They just want you to hear their perspective and understand where they're coming from. Fourthly, we looked at learning and reminding ourselves not to interrupt. Wait for someone to put the full stop at the end of their sentence before you speak, because the challenge is you don't actually know what's coming next. And if you listen to understand rather than listen to reply, your conversation will undoubtedly be richer. We also looked at eye contact, the importance of eye contact, how to do it, what it says about you as a communicator, and the value of practicing and becoming comfortable with it to a degree. We then talked about the power of eyes, voice, fingers. How when you look at somebody, when you are having an important conversation, you are getting all of that 63% of non-verbal communication. If you can't see them, let them hear the tone of your voice, because that adds to their understanding and interpretation of your message. And if you can't do that, you have to type them a message in some medium, but remembering that a message will be read in the mood of the reader, not the mood of the writer. So my encouragement in that video was to challenge yourself. Don't be lazy when you're typing. Don't shorten your sentences. Don't use abbreviations. Use enough words that the person is clear as to what you are wanting to convey. And then we looked at number one pet hate of communication, your mobile phone. How when that is in sight, whether it is actively making a noise or not, if it is within eyesight of you and someone that you're speaking to, then there are three of you in that conversation. And what subliminally it says to someone when your mobile phone is present in their conversation with you. And then we looked at the last two videos were embracing the awkward questions, conversations rather. So that was all about challenge yourself to see whether you could get a better outcome rather than stating what you want to happen, asking the other person how they would feel about the situation that you want. And starting with a question that is about them rather than a statement which is about you. That's gold. And also yesterday we did what is your face and your body saying while you communicate. And we talked about the triangle of trust between your words, your facial expressions and your body language. When they are aligned, people trust and believe what you are saying. When two of the three are in sync and one of them is not aligned, it will create the interpretation of, just discomfort or disbelief or awkwardness. So that's been our 9 so far. So we've got 3 more. And today I bring you this offering to stop settling for what happens when you communicate and start asking for what you want. Now, when I am out and about with friends, clients, colleagues, there will always be someone that says to me, my God, You can get anybody to do just about anything you want. And it's not because I manipulate people. It's not because I have got magic powers. I tell you why things often go in my way when I am interacting with people is because I am really good at asking for what I want. I don't tell people what I'm having. I don't demand things. I just am really good at clearly communicating what I'd like to happen. And what I have learned is that people are intent on trying to help us get what we want. They want us to be happy. You know, people in the service industry, people that we often relate to and interact with at work, in social situations, they actually want us to be happy. But what they're not is mind readers. And sometimes we assume that that waitress would know that we don't want to sit in front of the drafty door. Sometimes we assume that somebody wants to chat all the way through a film that we're watching with them. The moment you start to articulate what it is that you'd really love to happen, people will move heaven and earth to try and accommodate that. And that comes down to, it's not even technical. This is like the tiny things. But one of a really powerful human emotion is the sense of disappointment. And disappointment is often felt when our expectations do not match our reality. And in the reverse, happiness in life is often when our expectations meet the reality. So if we expect to go out and have an incredible meal at a fantastic restaurant and we get there and the meal isn't fantastic, we're often disappointed simply because our expectation of what we were going to eat didn't match our reality. And so we're disappointed. Equally, those nights out where you think, oh, I'm not really up for it. I can't really be bothered to go. Sometimes those are the best nights ever, not because something wonderful happened, but your expectation of how that night out would go is low. You didn't expect it to be great. You're only going to go stay for an hour. But the reality was you had a great night and therefore you are happy as Larry because your reality exceeded your expectation. And so if you apply that same principle to our interactions with others, so I tell you one of the difficult conversations I had. It wasn't actually difficult. I thought it would be. 20 years ago, I found my hairdresser and she hasn't been able to get rid of me ever since. But I didn't want to sit down and talk about holidays and the weather and my pets and my kids when I go and have a couple of hours in her salon. So 20 years ago, I said to her, Wendy, this might sound odd, but it really isn't meant to be rude, but would you mind if once we've had that initial chit chat and what I'm looking for, how I want my fringe to look today, we just didn't do small talk? Would you mind if I just sat quietly and read one of your trashy magazines about the Kardashians and about Jennifer Aniston, and we just enjoyed the silence? Now, whenever I tell people that's what I asked for, people kind of go, oh my God, that's awkward. But she was really offended. No, because the assumption people make is that she wanted to make chit chat because I was the only customer that she had that day. No, she's bored rigid of talking about holidays and thinking of topics of conversation and listening to people blather on. She was loving the idea of just having a little bit of peace and quiet. But without me being bold into communicating what I wanted to happen, she could have misread my silence as rudeness or the fact that I wasn't enjoying the experience or I didn't think she was a good hairdresser. She could have told her own story, which wouldn't have been true. So, likewise, if we go into a restaurant and whoever is seating us will sit us somewhere, I will know exactly where I want to sit. I'll have checked it out and I'll think that'd be a lovely place to sit. I will not hesitate to say to somebody in the nicest possible tone, do you know what? I would love it if we could just relocate. Would you mind if we sat at that table over there? Because it's actually away from that air conditioning vent, which I just don't want to be blowing on me the whole time we're here. People want to please us. My expectation is, can I go and move my table and sit over there? And 9 times out of 10, people will be like, yeah, of course. I wouldn't have even thought that would bother you. And likewise, I remember going in to have a lease arrangement on a car I owned, and it was £400 a month. And I really wanted to bring the cost down. So I remember going to the garage and not feeling awkward at all, not feeling rude or demanding by saying to the guy, look, I wonder if you can help me. I would love it if my monthly repayments were no more than £300. What would it take for you to be able to come up with a plan so that my outgoings were £300, not £400? Clear as, because clear is kind. Because if I said to him, I'm looking to, reduce my payments, he might have thought I wanted a different car. He might have thought I was about to take my business elsewhere. He might have thought. It's not his job to think. His job is to understand what I want. My job is to articulate what I want. And the minute I said to him, I'd love my lease payments to drop to £300, what could you do to see if that could happen? If he said to me, do you know what? It doesn't matter which way we cut it, you can't get those below £400, then fine. My expectations were to see if it was possible. His expectations were to understand what I wanted and see if it was possible as well, because he wanted to please me. So sometimes our lives and our experiences can be so much more enjoyable if we step into the power of asking for what we really want. And actually, we go to Costa every time we meet with a friend because I don't know why. Habitually, we just go to Costa in that shopping centre. But it's really loud and, the coffee's lukewarm and a flat white is putrid or whatever. Rather than thinking, oh, well, they won't want to go anywhere else, say to them, do you know what? I'd love it if we could find somewhere quieter to have our coffee. How do you feel about that? You might find that, oh yeah, of course, I don't mind where we go. I thought you wanted to go to Costa. Well, no, I thought you wanted to go to Costa. How many situations do you find yourself in where you assume the other person wants something and they assume you want it, so it becomes the status quo? This is your Christmas wake-up call to say so much enjoyment can happen when your reality matches your expectation only because you learn to clearly communicate your expectation and your desire. So in this respect, go forth, start to ask politely and generously with eye contact and body language and facial expressions and tone of voice and pace of voice and all the things we've talked about. Take all of that communication gold dust and start to ask for the things that would really make you happy and just watch what happens. Right. Back tomorrow for day 11. Exciting times. Have a wonderful day. Step into your power. Start asking for what you really want. Magic happens when you do. Okay, see you tomorrow. Bye.